Here's the thing, Bruce. I'm great at controlling my anger.
Stop the cap.
I do it all the time. When I'm catcalled in the street.
She belongs to the streets.
When incompetent men explain my own area of expertise to me.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
I do it pretty much every day because if I don't, I will get called emotional or difficult or might just literally get murdered.
Jesus Christ.
So I'm an expert at controlling my anger because I do it infinitely more than you.
Oh my God!
I can't get over how insane that speech is. I can't get over it. And the fact that she would say these stupid things to Bruce of all people. That's her cousin. And she would, for no reason, he's telling her that she needs to make sure she controls her anger because of everything he's been through for the past however many years. And it's even, okay, so even if she said what she said, why is she losing her shit at the end of it and telling him, I can control my anger infinitely more than you? Like, what the hell? Like, what the fuck is she talking about? All right, so that's her cousin, right? So she spent more time thinking about Captain America's sex life than she has considering everything Bruce has gone through as Hulk. All the all the shit that he's gone through. They live in the MCU, right? They live during all the Avengers 2, all that stuff, the Hulk movies. If he told her about Captain America, then he obviously told her about himself. He even went out into space. Like, I don't remember exactly if he himself volunteered to go out in space in the MCU, or if it was like in the comics where Iron Man and Mr. Fantastic sent him out there. But he went out in space because he was so concerned about, he went through so much crap and so concerned about like hurting people and destroying the planet as Hulk. And for her to yell at him and say, I know more about it than you do about controlling my emotions. And the thing was, her consequences were, if I don't control my anger, people will use adjectives to describe me. They will call me emotional and difficult. And then, I don't know if there was any self-awareness on the part of the person who wrote this crap, but then she throws in, or I might literally get murdered. Like, at what point? Like, it's so fucking stupid. If she gets angry at somebody and expresses her anger, somebody's going to murder her. It'd be more likely if she was getting all scary and cowardly because she was being chased by someone and that person got emboldened to attack her for whatever reason. But her being angry would probably be the best way for her to fend off somebody because they didn't want to deal with it. But it's just stupid. It's idiotic that somebody who is the cousin of the person, the foremost expert of being a fucking Hulk, and you're yelling at this person and telling them they don't know what it's like to be catcalled and to be called emotional and difficult. This is the problem with women invading men's spaces and been given so much power. She-Hulk is not a feminist icon. The only reason why they made her a feminist icon is because she's a female character. But if they really considered her a feminist icon, they would adapt the definitive version of She-Hulk, which is John Byrne. John Byrne's version of She-Hulk is the definitive version, who's smart, funny, sexy as hell. But they don't like that version because she was too goddamn hot. She was, she didn't fight the male gaze. She played into it. And in the comics, and she broke the fourth wall in the comic. In her own series, she break the fourth wall all the time. And she was saying, hey, I got a lot of women readers, and we want to be careful about how much cheesecake that I show. But we also have to be realistic and recognize the fact that most of my readers are men. And that, basically superhero comics are for men. And they appreciate me being sexy. Because, there would always be situations where her clothes would fall off, or she'd be in a bikini, or some villain would want to marry her and get her all dressed up all sexy and elaborate. There were some issues where he would just literally, Byrne would just draw all kinds of splash pages of her in different sexy poses. And that was part of her charm. She enjoyed being She-Hulk. She wanted to stay as She-Hulk, and she was happy to be seen as a sexy woman, and that's not what these feminists who are in charge of the show are doing. They've taken a superhero character from a male-centric, male-dominated genre, and they've slapped on their silly sort of like rom-com, fake feminist, clueless bullshit. I don't mean Clueless the movie. I mean more like a complete misunderstanding of what superheroes are and what they're supposed to do. Like for feminists, since She-Hulk is female, then that automatically makes her a feminist icon. And all they have to do is just not make her sexy. All she has to do is hate men. So they took her original origin. That's funny, her original origin. They took her origin and they completely changed it for the show. Now, instead of Bruce saving her, she literally is the one who saves him, quote unquote saves him. She saves him, but then gets some blood from Bruce Banner into a wound of hers. She hulks out and then apparently forgets all about him. Now I watched Disparu's review of it, and I guess he's going to review the whole season, but I don't see how anybody could get past the first 20 minutes, at least the way he described it and the way he showed clips from it. Like, I think there are worse clips in the actual first episode than this main one that everybody has, sort of, for the most part, united in hatred for this show. There's just how, for whatever reason, she takes things like, hey, I used some of your blood to help regrow my arm. Somehow she finds a way to just say, oh, that means I'm better than you. Like, what the hell is going on? She literally takes a Jeep and is able to knock Hulk off his feet and, like, kick him into a bunch of rocks, and nothing happens to Jeep. This is fucking Hulk. He's the breaker of worlds. How is she able to push him off by revving up a Jeep when he's trying to stop her from leaving the island in Hawaii? Or is it Mexico? Not Hawaii. Mexico. See, I didn't watch the episode. I just watched Disparu's review and a couple other reviews. Disparu had the most thorough one, and he really broke it down. This has been happening for years now, and I've been thinking about this in the past couple of years. The more, red pill I've become. I'm not red pill, because I'm not anti-woman. I'm anti-feminist. But I'm not anti-woman. And I think what happens is when people these days say they're anti-SJW or they're anti-feminist, SJWs and feminists act like, oh, that's so horrible. You're an alt-right Nazi who hates people. You hate women. You hate people of color. But that's not it. And SJW is not a good thing. They're hypocrites. They're losers. And they're assholes. They're pieces of shit. Feminists, they don't care about women. And they definitely don't care about men. They actually hate men. And I'm not going to support a group of people who every day it's the same thing. Men are trash. A hero. They literally took the origin story where Bruce Banner used his blood to save her life, and they turned it into, she was talking about Captain America being a virgin, wasn't paying attention, saw a spaceship in the middle of the road, flipped the vehicle they were in, and she had to save Bruce. And not only did, she saved him, but then she just left him. She wandered off on her own somewhere and just left this motherfucker. She never just thought about the going back. I didn't watch the episode, so I don't know if there was anything. The way Disparu talked about it, she never did actually say, let me go back and find my fucking cousin. She seemed like she was just standing around. I don't know what she was waiting for. I don't know. I'm not going to watch it. I saw the part where Titania, that wasn't fucking Titania, but the Indian or Pakistani Titania bursts in, and then after one punch, the fight's over. That's the kind of thing that feminists do. They don't understand superhero comics. They don't understand superhero stories. They don't care about them. It's all silliness to them. They're vapid and empty. They do dumb shit like have a character, a female character, be better than the male. It doesn't matter that Bruce has had so many years dealing with the Hulk. And it's not an issue. In the comic, Jen could control being She-Hulk. But this wasn't an issue where she was like, Hulk's trying to train her, and she's like, ha ha, I'm better than you. It was just that she didn't have an alternate personality, that she wasn't abused. She loved her dad. Her dad was really cool with her. Bruce had all the problems, so he went through all the shit, and he has a goddamn monster inside of him. Where She-Hulk, the best of her came out as She-Hulk, which is why she never really went to turn back into Jen. And they've just completely destroyed She-Hulk. Like, the definitive version is the John Byrne version, but it's like I said, she's sexy. She enjoys being sexy. She has no problem with men finding her attractive. She doesn't want to be exploited or anything, but she is control of her body and control of how she presents herself. And she likes presenting herself as a sexy, hot bitch. That's just how she is. And to take that away from her, to make her this slimy, weaselly, selfish, sociopathic wine mom, is ridiculous. And then, like I said, you see this all throughout media right now. You have these feminists who have invaded male spaces, and they've changed the way stories are told. You know, all the men are terrible, all the women are great, and it's not like, oh, I'm an MRA, I'm a men's right activist, and you need to protect men. It's more like, you've invaded our space, you've taken something from us, and you've changed it where it's completely unrecognizable, and you're doing it for an audience that doesn't exist. Superhero storytelling is such a highly specialized job. Not everyone can do it, let alone a lot of women being able to do it because of their mindset, because of the things that they find interesting, the things that they find appealing. It's not often that men care about those things, particularly in an adventure story, a superhero story. So just because She-Hulk's a woman doesn't mean that feminists should be the ones in charge of telling her story. Like, there shouldn't be like female producers and female directors and female writers on She-Hulk just because She-Hulk's a woman. Because look what they've done. They've turned her into this selfish, sociopathic idiot who's constantly trying to one-up the man in the series. And not only is it's not just an issue of her just competing. They've literally, the people working on this show have literally dumbed down the men, including Bruce Banner, the original Hulk, dumbed them all down just to prove some stupid feminist point. Just to appeal to some lonely woman out there who's going, yes, if I had the power of She-Hulk, I'd be able to go out at night, not get catcalled. If anybody said anything to me, I would just beat them to a pulp. And if somebody mansplained something to me, I'd just Hulk out on them. It's not about, oh, if I had the powers of the Hulk and I could control it, I'd save the world. I'd get into all kinds of adventures. No, it's just I'd be able to drink as much alcohol as I want without getting drunk, and I'm more interested in being a lawyer. I kept saying Titania because that's really how you pronounce that name, but I'm sure it's Titania. Too much Shakespeare. But so Titania apparently shows up at the end during some courtroom scene, and She-Hulk punches her one time, knocks her out, and that's the end of the fight. That's the end of the conflict. It's like they're not interested in the conflict. They just want to show Ally McWalters making a great speech to defend her client, whatever the hell the case was. But that's all they care about. Her proving herself as a competent lawyer, and she's going to show the senior lawyer that she's the best. That's all they care about. They don't care about superhero adventures. Like in the comic, John Byrne's comic, she was with Fantastic Four having all kinds of adventures. In her solo series by Byrne, she was going out into space, getting in all kinds of trouble. And none of that is reflected in this series. I mean, I'm sure they're going to have different bits and elements of things. I think the Toadmen are going to be in it. The Toadmen is comical, but I know it's going to be some stupid CW type crap. If that was the Wrecking Crew, they look like complete clowns, absolute clowns. I'm personally done with the MCU. I've said this before. I'm done with a lot of geek entertainment because it's dead. It's dead. Feminism has destroyed it. Women, it's like, the whole joke back in the day of like man cave. A man would set up his man cave. And what's happened is women have come into that man cave and they've taken down the calendar with the babes on it. They've taken down the posters with sports stars on it. And they've set up a tea table and a wine box dispenser. And all these different things that have nothing to do with what men are interested in. And they've turned it into like this, I don't know what the heck it is. It's just this weird negative space where they think they're speaking to an audience that's clamoring for some kind of justice against the patriarchal superhero. Whereas really, they're just like yelling in the faces of men who just wanted to chill out and enjoy a big, jolly, green, sexy giant.